Welcome back, everybody. On to Unit D. So we are moving right along here. In Unit D, we're going to be focusing on leadership and the leadership of these teams and the skills and talents that a leader brings forth. So whether or not leadership is for you, you certainly want to understand and know more about it. And so whether you're following a leader or being a leader, it's still important to understand those aspects. Remember, a leader without a follower is just walking. So everybody is important in a team. So when we think about or contemplate leading a team or being a lead of a team, it's important to decide if that's the right thing for you. One of those things to think about is managing or leading people part of my career goals? If you really hate it and it's not part of your career goals, don't make yourself a leader of a team. But if it is something you see in the future, maybe it's time to stretch. So it's something to keep in mind. Another one is, are you ready to take on those responsibilities? Do you have the adequate time and resources and knowledge to take on that leadership? You don't want to take on a leadership role if you don't have the time to commit to it, to bring it to excellence, or the knowledge base to be successful. You also want to make sure that you enjoy supporting, teaching, and helping others. If you don't like people, you should probably not be leading them. So make sure you enjoy supporting, teaching, and helping others. And do you have a reputation for excellence in that particular area or that field? Again, if it's a foreign field to you, you may not be the right leader for the team. Sometimes you are. Maybe you have a lot of subject experts and they just don't know how to work together as a team. That's okay, but acknowledge that that's not your field. I'm the first one to acknowledge. I have been placed on teams like that, and I'll be the first one to say, we're out of my wheelhouse. I need to borrow from somebody else's talent on this particular area. But you want to be able to at least know what you're talking about. And understand what motivates your team when leading the team. What do they value most? And make sure you're bringing that to the team so they can be successful. So how do you become a leader? We hear about it all the time, but how do you actually emerge and become a leader? And there's a couple of schools of thoughts on that. Some of them believe that leaders are born. Other people believe that leaders are made. Studies indicate that both have some qualities to it, so that we have some natural skills that can be tapped into that are leadership skills, but also that many leadership skills can be taught. And when we combine those, we have even better success. But don't worry if you felt like you weren't born with leadership skills, we can still develop them, and those that were born with them have an extra edge. So that's always very helpful. So here's some skills and how we're going to develop those skills. One is to find a role model or a mentor. Who are other leaders in that field or that you just admire, and what are those qualities that they have? What makes them? Talk to them. Find out from them, their thoughts, their opinions. How do you enrich those skills for yourself? Mentors are very, very helpful, and they're very supportive, and it's individualized to you. Volunteer for projects and team assignments. Put yourself in those roles so that you can learn to be a good follower and you can learn those qualities of a leadership. Volunteer to be there so you can learn the skills that are necessary for success. Also learn the politics of your organization. How do things get done here? Every organization has politics. Understand those politics so that you can move your team to success. Seek out training opportunities. Any opportunity that you have to develop and enhance your skills, you want to take those, and that will help to make you a better leader. And also identify your weaknesses and how to improve them. If you're not good with a particular public speaking, work on it. If you're not good with technology, how can I learn it? Teach yourself. Webinars. There's all kinds of opportunities to learn and advance yourself. Putting yourself in positions, joining teams, volunteering. Some tips to get started with your team. The first thing is to keep your feet on the ground. Be grounded. Be purposeful. What is my intent? Why am I here, and what am I going to accomplish today? As the leader, have your own agenda of what you hope to do. Build relationships with others. You cannot do it alone. That's why you have a team. So build the relationship with those that will be there to support you. Also learn about an organization before you go in to change it. Don't just come in and start shouting a bunch of rules and a whole bunch of stuff, because people are not going to trust you and they're going to want to know why you're doing that. Have listening sessions. Really talk to people. Find out their thoughts, their opinions, so that they feel heard as they go through changes, whatever those changes are that we're going to be moving on. Get to know your team, including things like their names, who they are, their titles, their talents, their strengths. Those are very important. They're the ones that are going to bring you to success. Assign tasks to team members. Make sure that they understand what they're doing, what their role is, and what their responsibilities are to that team. And set the example that you want others to do. If you need them to be there on time, you need to be there on time. If you want them to respond to emails within 24 hours, respond to emails within 24 hours. If you want them to use non-judgmental wording, use non-judgmental wording. So how you set the pace for your team is how they're going to respond to you. And pace yourself. You will not be able to build Rome in a day. Nobody did. But you can do it. You just need to set the right pace for you and for your team. Another approach that we frequently see in teams is what's called the project management approach. And some tips on that when we're looking at how we're going to manage this particular project we're working on. The first thing is to define your team's success. What is the end product supposed to look like? So when we can vision the end, then we can think about the ways and the paths to get there. So define what that will be for them. Develop a work breakdown schedule by this date we're going to have this done, by this date we're going to have this done, by this date we're going to have that done. So people can clearly see what the expectations are and adjust themselves accordingly. To keep an eye on the schedule and on the budget. Make sure that neither one of them get away from you, because once you turn left when you should have turned right, it's very hard to get people back on track. And remember, they're working independently on that. Develop and use communication systems. We talked about that in a prior lecture. What is the best way to make sure that we're communicating with our team in a timely and effective manner? And look at things like risk management practices. What are the ways that we are making sure that we're working the best way to reduce liability or risk for the agency and for our team? Other things that we want to do is to ensure that we're managing our team with diplomacy. What does that mean? It means that you have high visibility. People can find you. You're not hidden. You don't just show up for team meetings. People can communicate with you easily. You have an open door policy. You answer your emails. You're friendly. You want to avoid things which the book calls your monkeys on your back. And what that basically is not being clear about an assignment so that you end up doing it all yourself. With each of these assignments, with each of these roles, who does them? If somebody's not present, how do they find out about their responsibilities? Because when it doesn't get done and you're the leader, it falls on you to get it done. So how do you ensure that everybody knows what they're doing and is checking in on a regular basis with their progress so that you know they're on track where they need to be in a friendly, supportive way? You want to work through personal problems privately when possible. Don't air your dirty laundry in front of other people. If somebody is repeatedly late or disrespectful or not communicating, get with them individually and talk about that conflict and what the barrier is to their success and how you work through that. Don't directly oppose or criticize ideas, even if you don't like them. Listen to them openly. People don't want to be disrespected, and they're not going to work hard for you if they feel that they're being disrespected. Whenever possible, praise, and always try to make sure that you're praising more than you're correcting. People don't want to be resentful of being around you or on your team. Another term your book talks about in Unit D is what's called managing up. And what is that? It basically means working with your direct supervisors or other managers. So your team may be working independently, but how are we informing the managers or the personnel that are ultimately responsible for that team or that team's success? How are we sharing information with them? How are we making sure they know what we're doing and that we have their support? So one thing is to know who the managers are and what their priorities are. Is this a hot project for them? They really want time dedicated to it, or is it just something we're working on in the background and other things take precedence? So if your employee or your team member is feeling pulled on another project, we need to understand where the manager's time and attention is. What do they expect to be done and in what order? You also want to adapt your manager's communication style. When talking with your upper management or your administrators, how do they like information on your project? Do they want to email? Do they want reports? Do they want text? Do they want you to stop in regularly and share? What is the way that they want to get those updates? Avoid surprising them. Yeah, we were working on that, but Sally got pulled away and Jimmy had to do this and Johnny had to, so we're not done. They think that you're done. They are counting on you to do the job. So, or we've encountered a barrier. The computer broke and don't surprise them. Share them with them all along so they can be there to support you and help you. When you do have bad news on your project, or things are not coming together the way they should, bad news should be delivered in person to your managers and to your teammates, not over an email, unless it's absolutely critical. So we want to share the bad news together, share support, and find ways to work through those barriers. You also want to package solutions with problems. Don't just come in and say, I've got all these issues. I got these problems, these concerns have come up, these are my thoughts, these are the solutions I have. I want you guys to help add to these solutions. What can we do to get through it? We don't just come in and bear bad news and walk out and hope everybody's okay with it. As a leader, we need to be leading them in finding solutions and finding better ways. Some other things that we want to talk about very briefly are the intangibles. What are that? These are the things that are very important, but you can't touch them, you can't feel them, but they're very, very important to team success. They're things like loyalty and honesty. What does your team value? Does it value honest communication? Does it value loyalty and commitment? So you can't touch it, but it's part of the process. It is very important that you pay attention to these things if you want to be respected as a leader. If people feel that you're two-faced, if people feel that they can't trust you, if people feel that you're not on their side, you won't have the team support that you need for success. Some things that you can do is try to make sure you strive for equality, that everybody's treated fair and everybody's treated the same, that you're not making exceptions for one person that you're not making for others. Try to be professional and try to be transparent. Avoid knowledge gaps. What that means is I'm sharing everything with everybody to the best of my ability. Now, there may be some things somebody doesn't need to know, but they should still get the summary of how it got finished or what people did or what they worked on. What you don't want is to start developing, and I only work with these 3 people or these 4 people, and we share a lot of information. We aren't sharing it with the rest of the team. If that happens, the other team members feel invaluable and not necessary and not needed, and they also feel like what their opinion doesn't matter. So make sure that we don't have gaps of people. There may be a subgroup working on something, but then when they come together and share what they did, it needs to come back to the bigger team, not just decided separately. You want to focus on quality. You want to demonstrate loyalty to your team. You want to be honest and ethical when working with your team. And you want to make sure that you have some sort of activities with the groups that continue to bring them together and let them know the success that they're having. You want to create a project report at the end of your project to let everybody know what we did and what we accomplished in our time together. You want to document lessons learned so that when you have a future project, you know what you could do differently to improve, to get success faster, or to have more success than you had. At the end of your project, you want to ask for feedback on the team process and on the project itself so that you can learn from those lessons. As a leader, don't be offended. Learn from both your mistakes and things that just happened. Learn from it so you can get better and find better ways to improve the communication, to have a better team the next time so you are a stronger and better manager each and every project you take on. Surveys are very helpful with this. You're going to see that you have an assignment with putting together a survey. These can be very helpful as a conclusion of a project to find out what their experiences were. And understanding the experiences of your teammate can help you to make improvements and get better. So hopefully that was helpful. One more unit to go. See you soon.